Starting a photography business is super exciting. The thought of doing what you love for your job for like the rest of your life and making that a career is super exciting. But there are a few things that a lot of newbie photographers and people starting photography businesses seem to forget. As you prepare to start your photography business and start looking for paid work, paid shoots and all that stuff, it's very easy to focus on the long term, but there are a few short-term things that you do need to think about. According to Forbes, about 80% of small businesses make it through the first year. Now that might sound encouraging, but there's a huge drop-off after that. About 50% of small businesses live to see 5 years, and only 33% of businesses make it through 10 years. That's kind of scary. So if you want to be one of the 33% of businesses that last a good sort of 10 years, you might want to stick around for this video. Let's roll the intro. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. If we're just meeting, it's nice to meet you. My name is Connor Wells. I am a photographer, videographer and podcast producer, and I make videos about those three subjects every single week. So if that's something you're into, consider subscribing. So like I said in the intro, there's some statistics about why photography businesses and just businesses in general fail. So I'm going to be giving you 3 tips in this video to make sure that your photography business doesn't fail. Tip number 1 is no protection for your gear. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about why I've got protection for my camera equipment. So in terms of insurance, now, fortunately, I've never had any camera gear stolen from me, but last month, more specifically January the 10th, I had my phone stolen from me. I was about to start a video call, I was on my way to a video shoot for the day, and I was literally sat outside a cafe in London, you know, under the canopy bits, so, you know, I thought I was pretty safe under there. I was literally like sat there, phone in hands, and then 2 cyclists ride past me and pinch out my hand, and yeah, that wasn't a nice feeling at all. And it could have been a lot worse. I had all my camera gear with me, luckily that was under a table, but if that was taken, that would have been an absolute disaster. But like I said, it could have been much worse because I have everything insured. Now, camera gear and protection insurance is so worth getting. You might think, I don't need insurance, I don't want to be paying like monthly costs or an annual bill every year. It's never going to happen to me, but you're wrong. You know, I thought it would never happen to me, but I luckily did have insurance, which is a good thing. So always be very cautious of where you are with your camera gear. And luckily it wasn't camera gear, it was just my phone. But even still, like it's very scary. And it could have been a lot worse if I hadn't had insurance to get my phone, because I run a lot of my photography business from my phone, whether it's making Instagram stories, replying to emails, doing Instagram posts and all that sort of stuff, replying to your lovely comments in the video. So leave me a comment down below and maybe I'll reply on my new replacement phone. So it could have been a lot worse, and I'm very fortunate to have gotten insurance. A lot of photographers will set aside a certain amount of budget and money from their income to buy lots of nice expensive camera equipment, but you should also put aside money to protect that camera equipment. For example, should a critical piece of your equipment, like primary camera for example, get damaged and is always stolen, your ability to work is obviously going to be very limited. Although it isn't very fun to think about, or what if my camera gear gets stolen or my camera gear breaks, it is something to think about. And if you think about it, once you've got that equipment insured and protected and you know it's with someone reliable, then you can sort of sleep safely at night knowing that, God forbid, if your camera gear, you know, decides to break one day, it drops, you get it stolen, you've got it insured and you could probably get a new camera in the next few days. So always get your camera gear and equipment insured. The next thing about why your photography business could fail is lack of financial focus. Consider this, roughly 1/3 of businesses make profit, another third will break even, and the remaining 1/3 lose money. There are plenty of reasons why so many businesses only break even or lose money, and one of them is lack of financial focus. Now for me, I am particularly careful with my money, so I always know, and I do everything by the books, I always know that I'm gonna need, at the end of the year, at the end of every year, to put money away for tax and pay my tax bill. I'm not a big fan of the tax man, but it is what it is. So for example, say if I get booked for a shoot for £100, £30 of that will be set aside for tax. The rest of that £70 will either go to cover the month's bills or just to live on, or be reinvested back into my business, depending on what my financial situation is at the time. It's imperative that you know where your money comes from and where it goes if you have any hope of being in the 1/3 of businesses that turn a profit. Now, for me, I am not much of a numbers person. I struggle with, those basic maths calculations. That's just part of who I am. So if you're not a numbers person, hire somebody who is. So I'll have an accountant who does my expenses every month. So I'll drop off my expenses like invoices, receipts, and all those sorts of things that, are costs of running a business. And then it sort of adds the numbers up and that sort of figures out how much tax you're going to be roughly paying that month. And then that gets put aside in a pot or an account, and that'll be paid off at the end of the year. So it's always good to put a little bit more extra of tax away, just so you're not, caught short and it comes at the end of the year with your tax bill and you're like, that's a lot more money than I thought it was going to be. So always be very careful like that. Some photographers mistakenly believe that investing in a ton of expensive photography gear is worth it. It's not. For the first 3 years of my photography business, I ran it on a basically entry-level camera. I ran my photography business with the Canon EOS M50. That's one of Canon's best-selling mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras. But if you look at the specs and if you look at the reviews, people will always class it as an entry-level beginner's camera. But I managed to run a very successful photography business for 3 years on it, which is mad. When you're just starting out, the last thing you need to do is go out and spend $5,000 on a new camera body when the one you have is perfectly fine. Like I said, for 3 years I was running with a Canon M50, and only recently have I upgraded to the Canon M6 Mark II, and possibly maybe thinking of switching to a different camera sometime soon. If you can figure out what camera I'm actually shooting on right now, kudos to you. There are other more important things to spend your money on: paying for an accountant, creating a rainy day fund, and investing in targeted marketing to draw in clients. And that's just to name a few. Keeping a close eye on your financial situations and where your money comes from and where it's going after it's become in is absolutely key to running a successful photography business. You don't stand out. Make no mistake, there is tremendous demand for professional photography services. The problem is that there is also a lot of professional photographers offering those in-demand services, so competition for clients is pretty much very, 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 very robust. Now, in my local area, in Hertfordshire and sort of London, let's face it, there is a lot of photographers. I am friends with about 20, 30 different photographers. We've all got a little group chat, but we all help each other out, but we all sort of focus in on certain things. We all focus in on a certain niche. So for example, some photographers will just do wedding films. Some photographers will just do portrait sessions, weddings, product photography, newborn photography, you name it. People will really, really narrow down on a niche. Though many photographers are extremely talented, they might find that their business is just breaking even or even failing because they don't stand out in a sea of other photographers. In other words, think of yourself and put yourself in the client's shoes. You need to think, why should I hire you? What makes you stand out from all the other photographers that I've messaged on Facebook or Instagram who I am looking at to execute my projects that I'm looking to do? Now, I can't really give any exact sort of tips for this. It's sort of personal to you. What's going to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd? What's going to make you be the one that's chosen by your potential clients over another photographer or another production business? Branding is certainly part of the equation, and you need a business name, a logo, a tagline, and consistent colors and font in your marketing materials that helps people identify you and your business. Now, when it comes to the branding side of things, I use Canva for that, and this is not an ad. There is a link in the description, and I get a little bit of affiliate kickback for that. So if you want to check out Canva, it is a great tool. You can create a brand kit with free custom fonts that I'll use on all of my marketing materials, which include my website, stories, and all those sorts of things. You can get your brand colors, so anytime you need to make a background or something for an Instagram post or a Facebook post or a marketing email, it's got all your brand colors there. It is incredibly useful to use, and I love Canva when it comes to my marketing. You also need to develop services or photography packages that are high value and unique. For example, you might waive the sitting fee for an engagement shoot if clients book you for your wedding. Now, that is actually something that I do. So if somebody books me for a full day package for me to shoot their wedding, I'll throw in a free engagement shoot at a location and time and place of their choice. It's just, I believe in under-promising and over-delivering. For example, if someone booked a video shoot with me and I'll say, oh, the video will be done in, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, and I have it done within a week, they're going to think, damn, that guy's quick. So under-promise and over-deliver. That's one of the key things I can tell you if you want to stand out from the rest of the crowd. And my final tip is have a reliable website. So many people think that their portfolio is their Instagram feed or their posts on Facebook, and that's completely wrong. You need a very, very good website. Now, I personally use Wix to make my website. I have used Wix for the last 3 years. I've got a domain with them. I've got a mailbox with them as well. I take all my online bookings through Wix with their booking services page on my website, which is absolutely fantastic. So people can choose the date and time and book their slot and either pay a deposit or the full amount, which is absolutely fantastic. It will link into my diary. It also shows all my services as well, which is a real good time saver for clients. And some people don't, but I list my prices on my website because it alleviates the back and forth and negotiations with prices and people messaging saying, how much for this, how much for that? And I can literally send them to a link to my website that displays all of my prices. For the last year or so, I've worked very, very hard to improve my website. So I've updated like my booking forms, which will let the client choose what sort of service they're looking for. Where did they hear from me? What's the purpose of the shoot? I've got all of my portfolio on there. For example, portrait shoots, all my video work, testimonials. Testimonials are absolutely key. If people see that past clients have written very, very nice words about their experience with using your services, they are much more inclined to book your services rather than just seeing your post on Instagram of a really, really nice photo. Word of mouth is literally the best form of marketing. It's so easy to make a website these days. You can do it through Wix or Squarespace or GoDaddy and all those sorts of sites. I myself personally use Wix. It's super user-friendly and the templates there are really, really easy to customize. So I hope these tips help you, everybody. If there's something you think I've left out, let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll make a follow-up video to this one. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video right over there.